that led us down a path to look at other solutions, and we knew what our requirements are, what our needs were, and of course that was the ability to have some kind of self-service mechanism and something that can ease the help desk requests or allow more tier 1, tier 2 support for that. Something with more granular security policies, something that could support CAS. And then obviously something that was very customizable, had a more of a user portal launchpad feel to it, and something, because we do have classes that are held down in Chile, South America, we did need the multi-language support. So our PortalGuard infrastructure, and one of the great things about PortalGuard is it is very efficient with its use of hardware. ADFS, we had multiple servers for ADFS proxy, ADFS policy, and it was a lot on our infrastructure. And with PortalGuard, we were able to actually slim that down to one production PortalGuard server in a hosted data center with 4 gig of RAM, 2 CPUs, and even with those 2 CPUs, we're under 10% utilization. Excuse me. And then we also have a development or a test PortalGuard server in that same data center. We have a shared existing SQL instance for data and logging. And one of the great things about PortalGuard is you can define different types of security policies. And right now we have a policy for students, faculty, adjunct, staff, IT, and other administrators, so privileged users. And those usually are, key stakeholders in other business units or departments. And then also the UI branding and the multiple languages, which we use a C# application that plugs into Microsoft Translation Services that translates all of our PortalGuard account management screens and things like that. Right now, currently, we're doing probably about 500 plus password resets per month. And those actions include, unlocking accounts, resetting passwords, sending OTPs and things like that. And we do require enrollments from all of our staff and faculty, and they actually have to answer 5 out of 15 security questions. And then they have the option to also enroll their mobile device so they can receive, one-time passcodes over SMS. And then another cool feature, I'm sure this is a challenge in most universities, where if you have, faculty or staff that work remotely and they have a laptop, and they go to change their password, it changes it for their device. They hit Control-Delete and change password. They change their password. Well, that changes it on their device, but unfortunately, it doesn't change it in the AD infrastructure or the backend systems. With PortalGuard, there's actually a plugin for the desktop. So when you hit your Control-Delete, there is a PortalGuard link there that will allow you to reset your password, and it will change it across the entire infrastructure. So that's been very helpful. And the password features for PortalGuard are amazing. I mean, you go into your account management screen, you can see the date you last changed your password, when is your password going to expire. You get reminder emails that you can actually set these things within each policy. So we, for all of our policies, 14 days before the password expires, there's email sent out just reminding people. So that's another helpful feature. This is a screenshot of our PortalGuard single sign-on screen. So this is what we call OneClick Apps, and we have customized this as one of the benefits of PortalGuard, just being able to customize the UI. And this is kind of our launch pad, and all of these applications are integrated either via SAML or CAS. So we have everything from supporting applications to room scheduling, Adirondack, if you ever heard of Adirondack for the residence life stuff, of course, Blackboard, and even a lot of our IT tools, OpenDNS, Carbon Black, KnowBe4, which is the cybersecurity training, Cavuto for digital downloads, and J1 Web. So we have everything in there. And the great thing about each of these one-click apps is you can control who sees those. So there's actually tiles on here that I don't see. The other way around too, obviously we wouldn't want staff seeing our open DNS or our Carbon Black. So you can really infinitely define and control who can see these things. So just a little bit of a background on what you're seeing here. So we have about 6 CAS applications: Ad Astra, Adirondack, Blackboard, Commons 803. Those are all CAS, and then SAML for J1 Web, Carbon Black, OpenDNS or Cisco Umbrella, and a few of the others. So, and we're getting tens of thousands of clicks on this every month as far as traffic goes. So there's quite a bit of traffic to this. This is the kind of the central hub for all of the traffic to our different applications. So, and the other good thing too, the last bullet point here is the dynamic attribute store setting, where if you have multiple tenants, for instance, we have one tenant for our students, and then we have another tenant for our staff and faculty. And with PortalGuard, you can actually integrate it into both. So if you have an application that both students and staff can access, it will look at both Active Directory environments and authenticate against both. So you don't have to have 2 different environments set up with PortalGuard. Or if you want to split up those applications for one or the other or both, it works both ways. So that has also helped with decreasing the amount of infrastructure that's required, and so that's been really good. 2FA, we actually use Duo. I'm sure either most of you use or at least have heard of it. And the great thing about Duo is there is a kind of a seamless process for enrollment with PortalGuard. So when a new user is provisioned, the first thing they have to do is go into PortalGuard, which we've labeled it. I'm going to just jump back to this slide here. If you can see up in the left-hand corner, it says Let Me In. So we've branded this as Let Me In, and that's what everybody knows it by. So when a user enrolls with Let Me In, they put in their mobile device, they answer their challenge questions for the identity verification. It just immediately pops them up to Duo. They can create an account there, and it gives them instruction of what to do. Actually, it gives them a QR code that they can scan with their mobile device, and downloads the required app. And then it takes them right back to Let Me In or to PortalGuard and finishes the enrollment. So there's a seamless process between both of them, which is great. There's also in your account management section of PortalGuard, you can actually opt in to 2FA or opt out of it. So that's really handy to have. Or you can actually enforce it via policy. So for instance, we have in our J1 web application for Genzabar, we always require 2FA. That's part of a policy. So you can actually require 2-factor authentication when you hit PortalGuard to get into it, or you can enforce 2-factor when they click on a specific application within the portal, or you can do a mixture of both. So the granularity is just it's awesome. And then the other great feature too, I know I touched on it before, as far as the workload to the help desk and the engineers, PortalGuard actually has a admin dashboard and a help desk dashboard where your tier 1, tier 2 students or staff can log in, and they can perform limited functions on these accounts. Password resets mainly, but they can reset accounts, they can send OTPs if a user didn't get one or doesn't know how to do it, things like that. So that has helped immensely for if somebody calls into the help desk and they just they need their password reset, or they're not able to log in, the help desk staff can just log right into the dashboard, see what policy they're assigned. Sometimes they're assigned the wrong policy. And so we will just put them in the correct policy, and then they work. So that's been a huge lifesaver. As far as the logging goes, logging is extremely granular. And right now, we use Graylog as our SIM. So PortalGuard is sending its event logs and its trace logs and IIS logs and everything to Graylog, which basically parses, cleans up the data, runs correlation rules, and then sends any actionable items over to our Alien Vault environment, which is our store or security orchestration and response, where it will actually intelligently determine whether or not, does this meet up with any open threat exchange indicators of compromise, or is this a brute force attack, a password spray attack, things like that. So the logging is great.